The crypto market is waking up in a huge way. We could actually see in the last week, most of the altcoin market is up 20+%. And this is actually very exciting. Now, in terms of Ethereum, I keep saying that Ethereum is the main focus right now, and that will, remain the focus until we actually start to see Ethereum breaking into new all-time highs. And you might be saying, well, Nick, isn't that the best time to be focused on Ethereum when it is breaking out to new all-time highs? And technically so, if I was an Ethereum maxi and if I was holding a bunch of Ethereum, yeah, that would be the best time to be looking into Ethereum. The problem here, though, is if we go back in time, and I've shared this in my video from last night as well, the second that Ethereum breaks to a new all-time high, that's when altcoins get unleashed. That's when we start to see altcoins going insane. And even right now, if we look at the daily, we could see some of these altcoins today are up 10+%, some of them making a 100% plus gain, like OK Exchange's coin. Now, that is because, of course, the announced, it was basically a burn announcement that they're going to be burning the supply down to 21 million. We'll see how that goes. But regardless of that, there is some outliers here, but, the altcoin market is looking very, very good. And in terms of the market cap, the market cap of some of these coins, like even Ethereum, it's up 6+% today. That's because, again, we are in phase 2 of the cycle. We could even see it down here when we look at Ethereum compared to Bitcoin. We've been keeping a close eye on it. Again, even though Bitcoin's around 120K, the focus is on Ethereum around almost 4,700. And the last year, the last month, the last week, the gains across the board for Ethereum are really catching up to Bitcoin. And what I mean by that is, we're catching up to those yearly gains of 103% plus. We're at 71.7 right now. The last month, we're up 50+%. The last week, we're up 30+% on Ethereum. So we love to see that. XRP, $3 and almost 30 cents. We were pumping earlier today, and the last week we're up about roughly 10%. It's nothing too crazy. I'm really kind of watching just strength to kind of form on the XRP chart, which we'll address in this video. But the main thing that I want you guys to be concerned about right now, or a little bit cautious, is just getting too excited. Because again, when we think about this market right now, and let me just refresh real quick, make sure everything's up to date. Market cap of crypto, 4.12 trillion. I'm not too sure how they're calculating this because my total chart is only showing me 4.03 trillion. But regardless of that, the market cap of crypto is up in a big way. 3% today alone. Fear and greed, 63 in the greed section. And this is what I want you guys to focus on, right? Is fear and greed. So although, yes, things are getting very exciting, things are starting to, move pretty quick. This is the last 30 days for fear and greed. We've been pretty steady around this time. In the last year, though, we could see that we just hit neutral territory. We're back into this greed section. This is where I want you guys to be a little bit cautious when we get closer to resistance. And I'm actually going to be addressing this when it comes to the Ethereum chart, because Ethereum, like I said, is the focus right now. And I think everyone should be focused on Ethereum, especially if you do hold altcoins, because altcoins will get hurt significantly on whatever move Ethereum makes. Meaning, if we see a major drop to the downside, that's going to affect altcoins in a big way because of how high Bitcoin or how high Ethereum dominance is rising. And it's just very similar to Bitcoin and Bitcoin dominance. We've talked about this on multiple occasions. This is always why I say focus on the resistance levels. And when we get closer to those levels, focus on the sentiment as well in the market. If the sentiment is very bullish while we're getting closer to resistance, 9 times out of 10, we probably reject. And again, it's vice versa. Even when we're starting to hit like major bottom levels or, we're losing support and everyone's getting extremely bearish, typically we start to see a big jump on the chart, which is an impulse back to the upside. But regardless of that, some of the altcoin market is looking very good. Solana actually is up 14+% today alone, which we like to see. Listen, I'm not going to scold any altcoins here. I'm not, looking at this and saying, oh, well, XRP is only up 2.62%, so it sucks, right? No, there's always going to be outliers. And even when we think about XRP, I know that a lot of people will say, well, why isn't XRP pumping? guys, XRP in terms of like the yearly gains, XRP is number 4 in terms of the top 100 for the yearly gains. So XRP is doing just fine. Most of the market is catching up to XRP at this point because it is still up 470+% on the last year. I also saw a question on X about why XRP hasn't broken out of its 2024 highs or January highs. And I don't know if people don't realize this, but we already broke over those highs. Right now, XRP is just ranging in a very bullish setup, I would argue. But in terms of the total broke out to $4+ trillion. This is very exciting. I do think that we hit $5 to $7 trillion this cycle. Could go even higher, but those are like the initial areas of interest. In terms of the Bitcoin price chart, this is what Bitcoin looks like right now on the 1 year. In terms of the trading view chart, we could actually load this up real quick and just look at the daily. The main thing that we're looking at here right now for Bitcoin, because today is the daily candle close. In terms of the daily candle close, we want to see a very bullish close here above 120.2K. So right now, we're at 120.4K. Today could be the day that we actually close over all of this resistance from July and we finally start to break out on Bitcoin as well. And again, when we think about Bitcoin and Ethereum, do we think that Bitcoin's going to steal the show? I don't believe so. I still think right now we're going to be in Ethereum season for about at least a month, I would argue. So right now the focus is mainly Ethereum, but Bitcoin's still looking pretty good here. And in terms of Bitcoin's trading volume, 74 billion compared to Ethereum, 62.5 billion. So again, Bitcoin's still seeing a lot of attention right now. But I think that the main focus here is Ethereum because of how close we are to new all-time highs, which I do have the price chart open over here real quick. I could show you guys it. So this is what Ethereum's chart looks like. These are the 2021 all-time highs. The all-time highs around 48. We'll just round it up to 4,900, right? We're at 4,700 here. We are so close to a new all-time high on Ethereum. And this is where I want you guys to be very cautious because, again, everyone thinks that, oh, we're just going to break over the all-time highs on the first run around. That's not how things work, which, again, I'll address here in a moment. But while we are focused on Ethereum and we're, paying attention to Ethereum and what Ethereum does, XRP. So with XRP, I do have the chart open. I do think when it comes to altcoins right now, if you're mainly watching your altcoins and you're wondering what happens next, it's not so much about what the altcoin does itself. It's more so about the strength against some of their pairs. The biggest thing right now is Ethereum pairs. Before, if I duplicate this real quick, just to show you guys something, the main focus with altcoins up until this point was just the Bitcoin pairs, right? We're waiting for strength to form on the Bitcoin pairs. And, XRP just went insane back in November into December. And right now, this is what the Bitcoin pair looks like. Again, XRP is very strong against Bitcoin, but very weak against Ethereum. And you can clearly see how the market dynamic has shifted from Bitcoin to Ethereum. This is exactly what happens when we get from phase 1 to phase 2. We are in phase 2 officially for Ethereum. And you guys might say, well, all right, well, what does this all mean? Like, what do we need to see? Well, first off, I do think that XRP will essentially bottom out somewhere around this range down here. We might overwick this level of interest, but we shouldn't close on the weekly below this level on this chart. So we are going to watch this support going back to November and December to actually hold on the XRP Ethereum chart. We might on the weekly hit this fair value gap here, which I wouldn't be surprised if we did. That's why I do have this drawing here. We will wick down to this, regain the support, actually close above it on the weekly, range a little bit, and then start to break out against Ethereum. Again, just going back to 2021, this is what 2021 looked like as well. Most altcoins just got completely decimated against their Ethereum pair. And then we started to see them form some strength. And then this is when XRP actually pumped in 2021. Again, it wasn't a new all-time high or anything like that, but this is exactly what we want to see. We want to see strength against the Ethereum pair. But right now, we are focused on Ethereum, so we won't see strength form yet until we see that, washout moment. And the same could be said about Ethereum with the Bitcoin pair. We had the same exact setup. where Ethereum was extremely bearish against its Bitcoin pair. Even dominance, right? Dominance was extremely bearish on Ethereum, and then we started to see that big spike to the upside. That's exactly how altcoins will look against their Ethereum pairs. We just have to wait it out a little bit. But while we do focus on Ethereum and how close we are getting to the all-time high, what I'm expecting here, and I could actually drop this down to the daily, and we have been watching this closely. We did not get the drop down to 3,900, but it's okay. We don't need to see everything work out perfectly. The main thing here is now we are in this moment where we are getting close to this all-time high, and everyone's expecting a big break right off the rip. I don't think that we see that. And the reason why I don't believe that we see that is because that's not how healthy price action looks. In terms of what Ethereum did back in 2021, and we have the all-time high going back to 2017, 2018 outlined on the chart here, we could see the price action back here. So this is us pumping into January of 2021. Again, during this time, altcoins looking very good. Again, during this time where Ethereum's getting close to its all-time high range, guess what? If we go back to crypto bubbles, we could see altcoins are looking pretty good here. Now, the main thing to focus on here is how Ethereum reacted to its all-time high. When we got close to it, reject it. Got close to it, reject it. Ranged, finally broke out. It took us some time for us to actually break out against the all-time high, which is exactly what I'm expecting here as well. It ranged for about 2 weeks. Reason why I do think that we cool off a bit is because look at the 1 week view here. We have 2 weekly candles already in a row, and I'll just go off of the bottom of this weekly candle here. We're already up 36% in the last 2 weeks, and I know that that doesn't sound crazy bullish, but I want you guys to realize that we will typically hit this resistance zone, then range and chop for a bit, and then get the big break. That's healthy price action. That's exactly what we want to see. But the reason why I say to be cautious here is because of how high Ethereum dominance actually is. It's breaking out, to the upside of 14% plus. Is it going to affect the market in a huge way? Not exactly, but I wouldn't be surprised if we rejected initially off of the resistance zone. Some of these drops here on Ethereum back in 2020 and 2021, they weren't that crazy. Like this was a 27.8% drop. Again, just going off of the all-time high here, a 27.8% drop would take us back down into like the mid 3,500 region. I don't think that we have to see a drop like that. Is it possible that we do? Yeah, sure, it is. But the main thing to focus on here is that we are so close to a new all-time high. We will get a new all-time high. The second that we break that new all-time high, that's when a lot of these charts, including XRP, start to build strength against their Ethereum pair and start to break out. The main thing to focus on here is everyone is getting bullish. Everyone's very excited. We could see fear and greed picking up. And during this time, we need to be cautious until we see a big breakout across the board. I do think that Bitcoin's going to continue to actually move up right now, but Ethereum, again, we want to see an all-time high broken on Ethereum before we get very excited on altcoins. We might range a little bit. We might get into the boring zone just like back in 2021. So we'll have to wait and see here. But in terms of XRP, XRP right now, it's fighting its resistance levels from the last 2-3 day candles here. You can clearly see that resistance around $3.32 working. Is there a possibility that we reject this, go chop, and just kind of range here? Sure, there is. The main level here is just sub $3. We might see this resistance or this support level retested from like the end of July and the beginning of August because of how strong this resistance is. It wouldn't surprise me or shock me if we did see something like this, and then we start to kind of just range within here until Ethereum actually breaks its new all-time high. And then once that does happen, guess what? XRP will break out, go to new highs, and then continue on its crazy run to, $5, $10, $15, however high we go. Obviously, we take it one step at a time, but, I'm mainly looking at around like $7 to $10 initially for XRP. But we just have to range here, do nothing. Honestly, this is like the best time of the market because we don't have to be concerned about doing anything. the main thing here is don't FOMO in. Have some stable coins on the sidelines for buying opportunities if we see them. But all you have to do is simply nothing. We're just waiting. We're waiting for Ethereum to make its new all-time high. And then that will lead us into phase 3 and phase 4, which is the altcoin market. So right now, market looking very good. Might have a slight rejection. I don't think that it's going to be too concerning. While recording this, Bitcoin's over $122,000. I don't even think that the chart has updated yet. I could take a quick look at it real quick before I wrap this video up. So in terms of Bitcoin, yeah, I mean, Bitcoin looks very strong here. We're about 10 hours away from the daily candle close. I mean, listen, if we break over this 123.2K target, which currently speaking, we are about 1.3% away from that, then Bitcoin makes a new all-time high at the same exact time that Ethereum right now, from our current level, we're about 4.4% away from a new all-time high. I mean, guys, we are so close. We are so close. Just be very cautious here. Until we see that big break, don't expect it to happen on the first run around. I'm just waiting patiently to see if we get this big break today. But so far, the market is looking very good, and I'm very excited about the remainder of this year. I think that going into September, this market's going to be looking very good. And I also still think that September is going to be a very bullish month as well. Everyone's expecting it to be pretty bearish, but with the FOMC meeting, with the Fed decision, which we'll talk about as we do get closer, I'm expecting September to be a pretty good month for crypto. So with that being said, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys definitely leave a like, subscribe, turn notifications on because more free content. You guys are more than welcome to follow me on Twitter and join the free Discord in the description below. And with that being said, guys, Nick, thanks for watching. Peace out.